Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Hopefully, everybody's week is off to a fantastic start. It's the first full week of October since we started October in the middle of last week. Good morning, Keveron. Good to have you here. As always, thank you for stopping by the channel. I greatly appreciate you, as always. And I heard this morning that we're going to be in the 40s in some places later on this week into next week. So I think it's officially fall. I don't like the cold weather, but I can't stand hot weather. So I'm okay with 50 to 70 every day of the year. But today here on the channel, as always, if you jump on here live, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. We're going to talk college football AP poll. Now, this is when college football starts getting good. If you're a diehard fan and just want to watch college football every day of the year, of course, you can't do that live anyway. You can go back anytime and watch, pre-recorded games, but you can't sit and watch college football live every day. But starting this week, we start seeing college football on Wednesday night. And then I think next week, if I'm not mistaken, we start seeing college football on Tuesday night. So this week you'll have college football Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And if I'm not mistaken, next week we'll have it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But on to the college football AP poll. Ohio State still number one, and I've said this a couple times already. To me, the four best teams in the country, in any order you choose to put them in, are Ohio State, Miami, Oregon, and Texas Tech. I know Texas Tech is not ranked number 4 right now, but to me, they're one of the 4 best teams in the country, and I'd probably round out my top 5 with Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is a little bit better than Ole Miss. Hey there, Bacon and Eggs. Glad to have you here. Now, Bacon and Eggs, I don't know your real name, but I do like that name because I love bacon and I love eggs. Hey there, I'm going to assume that's pronounced Arya. If that's wrong, I apologize, but it looks like Arya. But Arya, glad to have you here. And I think it's the first time I've seen your name in the comment section. If it is your first time here, Arya, whatever made you stop by the channel today, I greatly appreciate it. And please give the video a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel and tell your friends, tell your family all about the channel wherever you are, because thank you for subscribing, Bacon and Eggs. I greatly appreciate that. And Arya, if anybody whether it's a friend or family, likes football, baseball, basketball, NASCAR, or wrestling, you've come to the right place. Hey there, Derpy. Glad to have you here, and thank you for subscribing. I greatly appreciate that. And I'm glad when people tell me they subscribe, not just because I appreciate you subscribing, but also because there's no way to know for me on who subscribed. I can go, if I do so choose, which I don't check every day, but if I want to, I can go check and see how many subscribers I have. But that just tells you your total. It doesn't tell you who subscribed and who hasn't. So I never have any idea on who all has subscribed. If people tell me they have, I can take their word for it, but I can't prove it. All I can do is check the total amount of subscribers. I can't find out who has and who hasn't. And thank you for subscribing, Arya. I greatly appreciate that. Make sure you come back and watch about every day because I post just about every single day. So if you do subscribe and click that bell, you should get notified when I post, and it is just about every single day. I'll skip a day every now and then, like this past weekend. I didn't post Friday or Saturday, but then I did two yesterday. So in 3 days, I posted two videos, so I only lost one day. But for the most part, I try to post every single day. Miami number 2, Oregon number 3, Ole Miss number 4, and Texas A&M rounds out the top 5. I'm still not sold on Ole Miss. I know they're up there because the media loves Lane Kiffin, and I'll be honest with you, Lane Kiffin, a lot of people can't stand him, but to me, he's funny, he's brash, he's brave, and he seems like a likable guy. He seems like a guy you'd want to sit back and just drink a glass of sweet tea with. He seems like a likable fella, and most of the things he posts, even though some people get so mad by him, I always find them humorous. It's just Lane Kiffin being Lane Kiffin. It doesn't bother me. Nothing he's ever said has bothered me. Now, I might think, man, he's just flat out stupid sometimes, but I've never thought, oh, that makes me so mad. That's never crossed my mind. It's just Lane Kiffin's personality. But Ole Miss always finds a way every year to lose a game they shouldn't lose, and they'll probably do it again this year. But I think Texas A&M has a little bit better defense than Ole Miss does, so I think A&M should be number 4. Oklahoma 6, Indiana 7, Alabama 8, Texas Tech 9, and Georgia 10. Now, Oklahoma plays Texas this upcoming Saturday. They always play the second Saturday in October. They have, as far back as I can remember. Now, this Saturday, the game is not at noon, and it's the first time that I can recall the game not being at noon. But if Oklahoma doesn't have John Mateer, it should be a good game. But if they have Mateer, it shouldn't be close. Texas just can't run the ball. Arch Manning is averaging 32 rushing yards a game, and he's their leading rusher. They just can't run the ball. LSU, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Missouri, and Michigan, 11 through 15. The funny thing about Tennessee is, I believe 3 straight weeks they stayed at 15, and they finally jumped to 12 this week. Then we have Notre Dame, Illinois, BYU, Virginia, and Vanderbilt rounding out the top 20. Now, Notre Dame is still ranked 16th with 2 losses, but 2 things that help them is, for one, they're Notre Dame, so they always get the benefit of the doubt. And 2, you had 2 close losses to 2 undefeated teams, and one is ranked number 2, and one is ranked number 5. Now, to me, a loss is a loss, but to all the media and all the poll people, they always say there's such thing as a good loss. So they're going to give you credit for losing the 2 top 5 teams. So between the fact that you've lost 2 close games to Miami and Texas A&M, and the fact that you're Notre Dame, that's why you're still number 16. Then you have Arizona State, Iowa State, Memphis, South Florida, and Florida State rounding out the top 25. And Haywood, glad to have you here. And that's probably, Haywood, the bad thing about Miami, and I've said this a few times here the last couple of weeks. I think Miami has a legit shot to win the national championship. I don't know if they will, because for some reason, usually every year around Halloween, they just totally fall apart. And then every year, Mario Cristobal has that one game where you look and say, how in the world did the Hurricanes play that bad? Hopefully, for their sake, this year it won't happen. But, you know, people have been saying Miami's back for the last 25 years, and they haven't been. So this year, if they do either win the national championship or at least, you know, make it down to the Final 4 or Final 8, then people are really going to be saying Miami's back. Because if you haven't been back and people are still saying it, then when you do really get back, people are really going to say it. So if they do win it all this year, then next year, starting probably in March, people are going to be saying, Miami's back, Miami's back, Miami's back. But they've got to hope they can get lucky again with the quarterback position because they haven't recruited one worth a darn. But, last year you had transfer Cam Ward, who came in and had one great year. And so far this year, Carson Beck is having a fantastic year. He's probably your Heisman front runner right now since John Mateer's out hurt. But there's going to be a point in time where you're going to have to recruit one worth a darn because you're not just going to be able to keep finding transfer quarterback juniors and seniors every year that are as good as Cam Ward was last year and as good as Carson Beck has been so far this year. But I do think right now the four best teams, Haywood, any order you want to put them in, are Ohio State, Miami, Oregon, and Texas Tech. To me, those are the best four teams in the country. And I think Ohio State wins the Big Ten. I think the Hurricanes win the ACC. And I think Texas A&M wins the ACC. I mean, good gracious, Texas A&M wins the SEC. And I think that Texas Tech wins the Big 12. I think Oregon will get in as basically a wild card because Ohio State, Oregon can't both win the Big Ten. But I think Ohio State's a little bit better just because their defense is phenomenal. And I mentioned this in a video yesterday, Haywood, that was probably the one move that Ryan Day made in the offseason that I wasn't sold on because I never have been a fan of Matt Patricia. And when he hired him, I was like, oh no, Ryan, you made your first coaching malfunction because Matt Patricia is terrible. But so far, as good as their defense was last year, it's been even better this year. So I'd probably have Ohio State as the best team in the country if I was a voter, only because their defense is so good and Ryan Day is so good. And they had the best player in America on offense and the best player in America on defense. So I'd probably vote the Buckeyes number one. But if you wanted to put them number 3 or 4 behind Miami and Oregon or behind Miami and Texas Tech, I could buy it because everybody sees things differently. I think the Buckeyes are a little bit better, but I don't think they're, just beyond better. But now their offense has gotten slowly better as the years progressed. Their offense started out slow because Julian Sayin is just not the quarterbacks like Cardale Jones and J.T. Barrett and all the other guys they've had over the last decade. And when you lose Judkins and Henderson, your running game is going to take a hit. So when the year started, their running game just struggled. And Julian Sayin, he's great, but he's not elite. But if he's all you have, you're going to struggle. And that's why when the season started, their offense wasn't great, but their defense was so good that their offense was getting by. But as the years went on, their running game has slowly started getting better. So the Buckeye offense is slowly getting better. If their offense gets to anything close to what it was last year with the defense they have, I don't know how they lose. I really don't. They are a really, really, really good football team. And if I was the kind of person now, I just sit back and watch football for the love of the game. But if I was the kind of person that really hated teams, the Buckeyes would be the one team that I would hate. Because, like Haywood said a while ago, Miami's back. We've heard that for 20 years, and so far it ain't been true. But, everybody has down years. Florida won a national championship with Steve Spurrier, and then they won 2 with Urban Meyer. But in between those head coaches and all the other years, Florida's been an average football team. USC had their moment in the sun. They've been average for the last, 10, 15 years. Texas won the one national title when they had probably the greatest college quarterback the game's ever seen. But outside of that, Texas is good most years, but not great. They get overhyped because of the city they're in and the fact they have their own network. But they're never going to be 2-10, 3-9. But most years they are a 8 or 9 win football team. Between Paterno's last few years and what James Franklin's done, Penn State's had a lot of just average years. But the one team that just never, ever, ever has a down year is Ohio State. It doesn't matter who their coach is, who they play, who they lose. Ohio State's going to be a 10 or 11 win team every single year. And it would make me hate them if I was the kind of guy that hated teams. But outside of Clemson, I don't care who wins and who loses. I just watch it as a fan of college football because I love football. But like Alabama, you look at Alabama. In between Bear Bryant and Jackie Sherrill and then Nick Saban coming along, they had 15 years where they were lucky to get to 6 wins. But now it looks like Kalen DeBoer is slowly trying to get them back to where they were under Saban. Not sure he does, but he's doing a better job than Mike Shula and Dennis Franchione and every other coach they had during all those dreadful years. But Ohio State, if you ever see Ohio State go 8-4, shut the program down. It's just not going to happen. They're just the one program that no matter what, they're always, always, always good. So if I was a hater and I was going to hate somebody, that'd be the team I would hate. And I say that because most people in most sports, not just college football, but if you look at most people in most sports, people always hate the successful programs. You hate the successful teams. And that's why you look at NASCAR. Everybody hated Jeff Gordon back in the 90s. Why? Because he won all the time. Everybody hated the Patriots back in Tom Brady's days. Why? They won all the time. People now hate the Chiefs. Why? They win all the time. In college basketball, most people, unless they're a fan of Duke or North Carolina or Kentucky or Kansas, one of the blue bloods, you hate them. Why? They win all the time. And that's why most people that follow college football, unless they're a fan of Alabama, they hate them. Unless they're a fan of Miami, they hate them. Why? They win all the time. Unless they're a fan of Ohio State, they hate them. Why? They win all the time. You don't like seeing people win all the time unless it's your team. Haywood says his nod goes to Georgia and Clemson because they was not ducking 2 teams when format was 1 loss is death penalty. Hey there, Vivid. Glad to have you here in Red Roblox. Glad to have you back. And hey there, Visionary. Glad to have you here. And Vivid, I think it's the first time I've seen your name in the comment section. If it is your first time being here, whatever made you stop by the channel today, appreciate you being here. If it is your first time being here, please feel free to give the video a like, a thumbs up. And if you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. And Red Roblox, maybe Vivid just likes a skull face. I know if you're a wrestling fan like myself, back in the day, everybody used the skull face because Stone Cold was so popular. And Visionary, this channel, my videos, unless I'm doing a top 10 countdown, which a top 10 countdown could be about movies, music, cars, restaurants, anything. It could be about candy, food, holidays. But outside of the top 10 countdowns, which sometimes are about sports and some are not, my videos are always intended on being about football, baseball, basketball, NASCAR, and wrestling. Now, typically, I try to separate them. Like I'll do college football one day, do NASCAR, then I'll do NFL one day, then I'll have a wrestling video. So I don't try to have all 5 sports in one video. I try to separate them. But but I come on here and most of my videos are live. So even though I have a topic to hit on, I do them live. So people come on here and comment and they actually talk logical and talk sensical, then I'll comment and respond back to them. So it could be a 10-minute conversation on football, and then a 20-minute conversation about, whatever gets left in the comment section. But thank you for subscribing, Visionary. I greatly appreciate that. And that's why I do the live videos, because I enjoy talking to people. And you can still type to people, even if it's a pre-recorded video, because if you leave a comment, I still see it and I can respond, but I'm not responding like this. I'm responding by, messaging you back. So I try to do them live. And then even if I'm talking football, if somebody leaves a comment about life in general, usually I respond. So I like to stay on topic, but you don't have to stay on topic. If I'm talking football and you want to leave a comment about wrestling, you can leave a comment about wrestling. It doesn't matter to me, but I try to at least have a topic that I want to talk about in every video that I do. But for the most part, it's football, baseball, basketball, racing, and wrestling, but they're separated. Usually it's college football video, and then there'll be an NFL video, and then there'll be a basketball video. So I jump all over. And Visionary, that's a question I used to could answer, because back in my younger days when I was single, I watched scary movies all the time. But then once I got married and my wife and I had kids, I kind of stopped watching them, only because, all three of my kids, they're still fairly young now, but back then they were really young and they would have nightmares, and it just wasn't worth trying to watch one. And then my kids waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning having a nightmare. So I just kind of quit watching them. And sometimes, they'll be gone. I'll think, oh, I'll watch one while they're gone. Then I'll get right in the middle of it and they pull up and I never get to finish it. But every once in a while, I'll watch one on Tubi. But the Tubi movies are always like pretty much the B movies with actors you never heard of. So I'm not going to suggest them because they're not the great movies. But I have not watched a great actual scary movie in probably 10 years. A team that scheduled a top 5 team week 1 has my respect. Hey there, John. Glad to have you here. And Haywood, I think there's ups and downs about doing that. Like, we'll never know now because the season has started. But I always will say, had Clemson scheduled LSU in week 5 or week 6, they're probably sitting 5-0 right now. But instead, you come out of the gate and you're a top 5 team and you think you have a shot to win the national championship. And even though LSU is a non-conference game, you come out thinking, okay, we can get past LSU and we can go undefeated. We got a chance. And then you come out and you lose that game, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, there goes the whole season. We can't go undefeated. We're probably not going to make the playoffs. We get no respect. And I think that's what caused them to be so bad against Troy and then lose to Georgia Tech and Syracuse. Now, if they turn the season around, it's going to be great, but I'll always say that scheduling that early in the season can be a bad thing, because if you schedule LSU in week 4 or 5, and let's say you open up with Troy, and then you play Syracuse, and then you play North Carolina. Yes, you're right, Visionary. Apparently, John is very, 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 very set on wanting to know whether or not I have hair, even though it shouldn't matter. But, John, if you must know, I'm bald by choice. I can't stand having hair when my hair gets this long. I shave it. I despise having hair. I have not had hair in 20 plus years. So hopefully that satisfies you wanting to know whether or not I have hair. I don't. It's by choice. God only made so many perfect heads, and the rest of them have hair, so I don't need hair. But back to the conversation. And, if you play somebody like Troy, first game of the season, you've got a chance to try new plays. You've got a chance to put in new players. You've got a chance to try some trick plays, all that kind of stuff, and you still win the game. If something works, great. You try it again. If not, great. You stop trying it, you still win the game. But when you play a team like LSU, you come out of the gate and right out of the bat, you can't try anything different. You can't bring in new players. You have a bad quarter, you have a bad half, it costs you, you lose. So there are ups and downs to playing, highly ranked teams. And Krister, today I'm talking college football, but I do talk NFL. I'll probably be talking that later on this week, some point. Baseball as well, NASCAR as well, and wrestling as well. But today, Krister, we are talking about college football. But any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I went to the paint store to get thinner. It didn't work. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.